Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell a min-max player who's going to have some fun.
With a dumb subclass. Rune Knight, here we go.
Rune Knights. Rune Knights enhance their martial prowess using the supernatural power of runes, an ancient practice that originated with giants. Rune cutters can be found among the family of giants, and you likely learned your methods first or second hand from such a mystical artisan. Whether you found the giant's work carved into a hill or cave, learned of the runes from a sage, or met a giant in person, you studied the giant's craft and learnt how to apply magic runes to empower your equipment. Hey Mitch, what is a rune knight?
A Rune Knight is basically someone who uses old giant magic to enhance their body, their skills, their strength. This is drawing on the power of the earth and the elements to pull it into your body to get strength. And that's what giants are all about. They're all about strength.
Yeah, I definitely see it as calling upon through channeling through runes, Armin the All Father, and calling upon old giant magic. So yeah, this is. I didn't know what it was. I'm interested.
Yeah, runes have been around for a long time, like witches, all that sort of thing. They all use runes, but I'm very excited about having this in a D&D subclass.
Yep. So at third level, you get bonus proficiencies. This is the first and quick and easy one that I'm going to cover off on. You gain proficiency with Smith's tools, and you learn to speak, read, and write giant. So you could potentially say you were trying to get it, but you weren't fluent, and then by third level, you finally had practiced enough that you were now fluent in giant.
Yeah, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go through everything that they get at third level, which is more than most people get by level 10. So yes, you get proficiency with tools, you get speak, read, and write giant. You also get rune carver. Starting at third level, you use magic runes to enhance your gear. You learn 2 runes of your choice from the among the runes described below, and each time you gain a level in this class, you can replace one rune you know with a different one from this feature. When you reach certain levels in this class, you can learn additional runes, as shown in the runes known table. Basically, up here.
I'll throw it up.
Third, you get 2, 7th, 3, 10th, 4, 15th, 5. 5 is a lot considering there's only 6 total.
6, yeah.
Do you want to go through? So the runes, the saving throw for anything that happens with your runes is basic. So it's 8 plus proficiency bonus plus your constitution modifier, which is huge because there's not many people that use constitution modifiers. So this is all adding up to you being a big unit.
Now, I think there is one thing that's worth paying attention to is I've got one of these guys in a campaign I'm running. And that is that when they finish a long rest, they can touch a number of objects and inscribe the runes upon them. You inscribe a different rune into each object. That implies to me that you can only have each rune once. You can't have the same rune on 2 different items. Going into our runes, you've already said what the level requirements are on the proficiencies, but heading into them, so the first one listed here is Cloud Rune. So all runes come with like a one-off and then a continuous ability. So Cloud Rune has the rune emulates the deceptive magic used by some cloud giants. While wearing or carrying an object inscribed with this rune, you have advantage on dexterity, sleight of hand checks, and charisma deception checks. In addition, when you or a creature you see within 30 feet of you is hit by an attack, you can use your reaction to invoke the rune and choose a different creature within 30 feet of you other than the attacker. The chosen creature becomes the target of the attack. Using the same roll, the magic can transfer to the attacker's effects regardless of the attacker's range. Once you invoke this rune, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest.
So there was no save there. So this is literally something I gave to a BBEG against level 20 characters. This is if you get crit, you can then say, no, that crit didn't hit me. It actually hit the guy over there, the other bad guy, and they kill their best mate.
Yeah.
No save. As a reaction.
It's just going to make their AC on the attack roll.
There's no point talking about it. Let's move on to the fire rune. So the fire rune. You'll hear the strain in my voice as I say these things. While wearing or carrying an object to describe this rune, your proficiency bonus is doubled for an ability check that you make using your proficiency with a tool, which is like a level 6 artificer ability.
So yeah, you still have to have proficiency with a tool, I guess.
In addition, when you hit a creature using the weapon, you can invoke rune to summon fiery shackles. The target takes an extra 2d6 damage and must succeed on a strength throw, which is 8 plus proficiency plus your con modifier, or be restrained for 1 minute. While restrained, the target takes 2d6 fire damage at the start of each of its turns. The target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, banishing the shackles on a success. Once you invoke the rune, you can't do so again until you finish a short or long rest.
Fighters are very short, very based, so this isn't too bad. Nice that it resets on a short. Powerful. I had a player do it today in the game, and they pinned the big bad, and they took him out pretty quick.
Yeah. We're not going to go through all of the other ones, but you have a frost rune, which gives advantage on animal handling and charisma intimidation. Also, you can invoke it and get, for 10 minutes, you get +2 to all ability checks and saving throws that use strength or constitution. Once you short rest, long rest. Stone rune, magic channels, blah, blah, blah. Advantage on wisdom, insight, and dark vision out to 120 feet. Also, you can invoke it to charm a creature, and they have to stop and stand still in a dreamy stupor.
Up to 1 minute,
with
not
saves
too bad.
and short rest, long rest. We're still on 3rd level.
3rd level runes.
At 3rd level, you also get Giant's Might. Take it away, Archie.
Giant's Might at 3rd level. You have now learned to imbue yourself with the Might of Giants. And as a bonus action, you can magically gain the following benefits for 1 minute. Bonus action. If you are smaller than large, you become large along with anything you're wearing. If you lack room to become large, your size doesn't change. You have advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws. And once on each of your turns, one of your attacks with a weapon or an unarmed strike can deal an extra 1d6 to a target on a hit. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain them all back after a long rest. So you're getting big.
You're getting real big. And you're doing extra damage. And, you know, at this low level, also invoking your fire rune to do an extra 2d6 damage with your greatsword of 2d6 and an extra 1d6.
There's a lot of damage being thrown around at level 3.
Yeah. Pretty good. You also get advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws, which is also pretty good.
So those first 4 runes, what are you going to throw straight up on level 3?
Well, obviously, I'm taking the cloud rune because that's just absolutely ridiculous. I'd skip the fire rune because...
Really? The shackles of fire holding you down?
Love the shackles of fire, but it just feels a little bit clericy, paladin-y for what I want to do with the Rune Knight.
Yep.
I think I would have to go with the frost rune. Love the advantage on animal handling. I love the idea of the giant being one with nature. And then also being able to do +2 to ability checks with strength and stuff and constitution.
Right.
Could come in real handy.
So you're going cloud and frost? I think I'm going cloud and fire. I think a lot of people are going to do cloud and fire. I think that's just a great little combo for the pain.
Mathematically, you've got to go that one. It's ridiculous.
Run us through our 7th level ability, Mitch. Runic Shield.
So, you have basically you've got all those levels. You've now got up to 7. You've had time to process how powerful you are. Then you give you another ability. At 7th level, you can now invoke your rune to protect allies. When another creature you can see within 60 feet of you is hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to force the attacker to re-roll the d20 and use the new roll. So basically like the sorcerer, time sorcerer. When you use this feature, you can use this feature a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. and regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest.
That's,
So it's the equivalent of the lucky feat.
that's very handy. You tie that with some other ones, and you could be making a lot of, you could be changing a lot of dice rolls. That's tanking from the rear as well. At 7th level, you also gain 2 more runes that are available to you. Not only that, also at 7th level, you can now also with 3 runes. But the 2 new runes that you now have available to you is the Hill rune. This rune's magical bestows resilience of the Hill Giant. While wearing and carrying this object, with the bearer of this rune, you have advantage on saving throws against being poisoned and resistance against poison damage. In addition, you can also invoke the rune as bonus action, gaining resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage for 1 minute. Once you invoke this rune, you cannot do so until a short rest or long rest. Wow, that's pretty cool. It's rage to a degree.
Yeah, it's rage. You've already got strength checks and saving throws at advantage. Yeah, it's basically rage for a minute.
And then you also get the Storm rune, which is using this rune, you gain a glimpse of the future like a Storm Giant seer. While wearing or carrying this object inscribed with the rune, you have advantage on intelligence, arcana checks, and can't be surprised unless you're incapacitated. In addition, you also can invoke this rune as a bonus action and enter a prophetic state for 1 minute or until you're incapacitated. Until the state ends, when you or another creature you can see within 60 feet of you makes an attack roll, saving throw, or ability check, you can use your reaction to cause the roll to have advantage or disadvantage. Once you invoke this rune, you can't do so until you finish a short or long rest. Mitch, what do you see out of these 2 new ones?
Yeah, they're amazing. And remember, at level 7, you can now take 3. So you can take the Cloud rune to redirect, and then take the Storm rune to get them to re-roll, the Hill rune to take almost 0 damage. This is amazing. This is...
Yeah, at level 7, you can change a rune, and you can pick up both level 7 runes and one of the other ones. So I could definitely see the Storm one as someone's trying to get in before the fight starts. You enter that state, and you just sit there watching as someone's trying to do something to make them succeed in getting across or getting something. And when it fails, that's when you're like, all right, we're all in now. But it shouldn't fail with your ability to let them re-roll give advantage or disadvantage to someone. So you just sit there giving disadvantage to the guard while everyone the people run past, and then you just wait for the siren to go off, and then you come charging down the hill. Like, it definitely has a place that is worth keeping on your radar.
Yeah, great stature. By 10th level, the magic of your runes permanently alters you. When you gain this feature, roll 3d4. You grow a number of inches in height equal to the roll.
Doesn't say where.
Moreover, nice. Moreover, the extra damage you deal with Giant's Might feature increases to 1d8.
It's good. A little bit extra damage, a little bit of height. Not huge, but you've got a lot of other things running at this stage, so you're probably fine.
Possibly my favorite feature so far.
Yeah, then you also get that extra rune. So yeah, 10's not a bad one.
Master of Runes. At 15th level, you can invoke each rune you know from your rune cover feature twice rather than once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a short or long rest.
Wow, that resets everything to short by my reading.
Yep.
That's
and twice.
Twice per, and you got a lot of runes running, so heaps of abilities and things going off everywhere at high level gameplay. This move takes us into the 18th level ability, Runic Juggernaut. You learn how to amplify your rune-powered transformation. As a result, the extra damage you deal from Giant's Might is now a D10. So, not huge, but here's the fun one. Moreover, when you use this feature, your size can increase to huge. And while you're this size, your reach also increases by 5 feet. You are the big guy on the battlefield that now everyone's going to be ridiculous. Like, I'm shooting at him now.
Huge. What is that, like 20 by 20?
Yeah. Large, huge. 15 by 15, gargantuan 20 by 20. Yeah, it's getting big. One thing it really will do is
Damn.
help with those grappler builds. You can now, huge, one size larger, gargantuan, you can wrestle dragons, no matter what size they are by category. And then if you
Yeah.
have enlarged cast on you, you're now gargantuan. I wanted to play this. This is cool. So
This is
cool.
cool. This is cool. I like this bit. I like this bit.
I wanted to do that before I wanted to play a huge character. We've talked about the abilities. Now I guess we talk about a few things about this class and things like that. Before we get into likes and dislikes, I think it's worth mentioning there's a few things that can enhance the way this is played before we go too far into it. I think one thing I do have to cover off of is size categories. There are 6 size categories in 5th edition. There is tiny, small, medium, large, huge, gargantuan. So just so you're tracking, these are the size categories for anything that's going to affect. And size is a big part of this character's build. Some other things I'd be definitely looking at would be going into giant culture. I'd get a monster manual and I would read about the giants to understand the culture and how they all work, just to help build your character and flesh them out a little bit. Maybe there's a particular type of giant that you're aspectly going to kind of take some roleplay points from. And another big one is going to go into giant culture is the ordning. And that asserts the hierarchy of giants and also describes what is good and bad. And they don't really use good and bad. They use giant-like and non-giant-like. So in the hierarchy, it goes giant kin, such as ogres, ettins, formians, and such. And then it goes up to hill, stone, frost, fire, cloud, storm. And then even if you push it further, it even goes into titan and such. So if you're acting like a hill giant, which is being gluttonous, bigger is better, and they're quite stupid and primitive and very basic, then you're doing good, and giant culture will not frown upon you in any way. You are doing exactly what the All-Father expected of you. Stone giants, they're artisans, graceful athletes, and they believe everything on the surface is the dream world because they live far below. Frost giants are about brutal strength and very warlike and have a lot of ties to the cold, as you'd imagine. Fire giants are fire forged. They're built up on war, and they're the evil giant. They're martial experts, and they're all about smithing and constructing their works and their wares. Cloud giants are all high and mighty. They're affluent princes and children of the trickster. They believe in wealth and power, and they usually control most of giant kind, because the storm giants are prophets and oracles, and they live solitary lives of meditating and trying to foresee when the All-Father will allow them back into their... because currently the All-Father is punishing all giants. A little something for you to go and read up on as to what's going on there. And finally, there's Titans, which is usually left off. But Mitch, I've also thrown together a list of a number of items up there that would be somewhat worth you keeping an ear out for, because I think they're going to be interesting to really change how you play with your sizes and your strength bonus. You want to rattle a few off I've got there, Mitch?
Yeah, we've got the Potion of Growth, about 300 GP, and obviously no concentration, 1d4 hour.
Yeah.
Potion of Giant Size, 11,000 GP. Huge for 24 hours. Your strength goes up to 25, and your max HP and current is doubled. 3 times weapon damage. HP, your health
10
points.
HP. Yeah, and it
becomes 10.
It's the reason why it's 11,000 gold pieces for one potion.
Yeah, it's something. Potion of Giant Strength. Obviously, you got Hill Giant, Frost Giant, Fire Giant. That's 21, 23, 25. 27 for Storm Giant, and then for Cloud Giant, then 29 for Storm Giant. So, wow. Obviously, next we've got Spells, Enlarge, Reduce, Potion of Diminution, which makes you tiny, Molten Bronze Skin. That's in the Mythic Odysseys of Theros. You got Manual of Bodily Health and Gainful Exercise, which is always great. Obviously, there's a Gauntlets of Ogre Power, which you start off with 19 Strength. It just sets it to that. And the Belts of Giant Strength, which is Hill, Stone, Fire, Cloud, Storm,
Mhm.
21, 23, 25, 27, 29. So very, very good items.
Yeah. Mm. I think a couple of concepts about the changing size aren't really covered off well in 5th edition. And this thing, the ability to say, like, oh, your equipment grows with you when you do that. But it doesn't really talk about if I grow and then pick up a normal item. Two-handed weapons still two-handed, but now that I'm a size category, I'm large. Is it still two-handed? Like, if I use a club, that's 1d4. If I use a great club, it's 1d8. But if I grow and then pick up a great club, so it didn't grow with me, I don't get the extra damage bonus, but can I now use it single-handedly? It's only a d8, so yeah. These are the sort of things you might have to talk with your DM. Two-handed weapons are designed for small and medium. If I'm now large or huge, potentially, if I'm using my 15th level, 18th level ability, and if I'm using my of a spell cast on me, does it still require that? In which case you could trade out. If you have enlarged cast on you and it gives you an extra 1d4, you could trade that out, go single-handedly with a greatsword, and have an armor, so a shield. So you're getting +2 on your armor class, which means you're trading a 1d4 damage for a +2 armor class. There are some things, if you're thinking about doing, you might have to talk with your DM about, because this is new ground for a lot of people. A lot of people don't play with this. Some other interesting things that might like to play with would be grappler builds. In that case, don't forget your bard expertise and your grappler feat. And we were listing off a few races that we thought would play out really well with this class. And we were looking at, obviously, at sizes, what these things are mostly about. So one of the ones that would be interesting would be Fairy, because you're small and you can go to large as your 3rd level ability. But at 5th level, they also get the ability to cast Enlarge Reduce on themselves once a day. The only issue with the Fairies is they can't fly in medium or heavy armor, so I don't think you're going to get everything you could out of the Fairy. You can get it somewhere else. Small races, I think, would have a more dramatic growth, because you start at like 3-4 foot and then you go to like 9-10 foot.
Yeah.
Another interesting concept would be the Ant-Man build. To go small and large, I think you'd have to also rely on your dex for when you're small, because you'd lose it when you shrink down. So 7 levels of Arcane Trickster would give you Enlarge Reduce, and then 3 levels would give you the ability to go to large, and you can cast Enlarge on yourself to get yourself to huge. So by level 10, you could go down to tiny from small, and then up to huge. So that's your Ant-Man build, essentially. For Azamar, you could pop wings. It's one of the only ones that you can pop your wings and fly around in heavy armor. For Bugbears, you get Reach, Surprised Attack Damage, Dark Vision, Advantage on Charm, Powerful Builds, Stealth Proficiency. You get so much. And there's 2 more on that we were talking about. Mitch, you want to just cover off on them before I take all the camera time?
You're right, man. Goliath is my personal favorite for this. Just really fits the bill for it. You obviously got powerful build, cold resistance, giant-like, athletic proficiency, and damage reduction, which is just great. Then Duragar, obviously. At 3rd level, you can cast Enlarge Reduce on yourself. Or at 5th level, you can turn invisible. So imagine a huge monster with a flaming hammer turning invisible.
Uh-oh. Where did he go? All right, Mitch, how do you feel about this character? What are your likes and dislikes?
Well, my dislikes is the lack of balance. That everything's good, everything's actually great, and it's all wonderful.
Everything is awesome.
Yeah. It just, yeah. The things I do like about it is that it works off the con mod, which is really rare. And I love the getting bigger and all the giant magic. Big fan of that. And I'll keep the rest positive.
It's got some lore. It's got a lot of play. You can look into the giant pantheon. You can look into the ordning and culture and things like that. So it's got a lot of culture. If you read that a little bit more, and you're gonna have to do some reading. This is not a simple class. This is not for someone who just rocks up and hasn't read their character sheet. There is not only fighter abilities, but there's also these subclass abilities, and there's things going on. And if you aren't doing things, you are falling behind. This is for someone who wants a little bit more. This, and saying that, it also keeps you active the whole time. So if it takes a long time for your turn to come around, you get to use your reaction bonus actions, and you get to do a lot with this class. So yes, it's good, but it's not necessarily for the novice or less invested player.
Do you know how I'd play this? I'd play this like a a kid that's just like, yeah, and my guy has 1 million strength and he can't be killed,
Yeah.
and he is so cool and he can't miss an attack, and if you attack him, it hits the other guy. Fucking dumb.
My dad's better than your dad.
I how would I play this?
What are you thinking? What's a character?
I would be going with a Goliath that was raised by a stone giant.
Stone giant.
One kicked out from their society, and then in classic form was they found him and killed him while he was out gathering food. And I've sworn to destroy all giants using their own magics.
Oh, really? That sounds good.
And I'd go classic Goliath revenge story.
I'm thinking. I too like the cloud giants. I like their concept that the surface world's the dream world. But I'm thinking a small Thri-Crane. I like small because it's more dramatic when you change, and I want to be the Ant-Man. I would use my secondary arms that can only wield light weapons, so maybe when I'm big, maybe they don't have to necessarily be light weapons anymore. Talk to your DM about exactly what size means. Yeah. But you're also getting extra damage on anything that you wield with these weapons. Your Chameleon Carapace, which lets you sneak and gets you AC, and I would also, as I said, take some inspiration from the giants, and mine was the Cloud Giant. I just think they're so interesting, being thinking, the world's a dream. Like, how strange is that?
Yeah.
What about for players? Now that they've got some concepts out there, is there any tips for players in this game?
I can see this being a problem at the table. I would say read the room. Your reactions could take away the ability for your friends to have their moment in the spotlight. If you spend your turn taking out half the enemies, and then one of them hits an attack at your friend, and they're just about to use their reaction, but then you're like, no, actually, I kill that third guy, and I'm so cool, and I kill all of them because I'm the best. It's like a DM NPC. But I would say play it with great respect, and maybe instead of min-maxing this one, maybe just min it.
And still be good.
And it'll still be good. Like, just play it as a big, dumb guy that can do everything and chooses not to. Right. So his friends can fatigue.
Now, do you think...
honestly, yeah.
I do think you've got to be careful if you're taking inspiration for giants, because they are a hierarchical system. So maybe you look at the rest of the people in your group and you establish a hierarchy, and you will not listen to the people below you. But you've got to be careful of how you play that. You don't want to be an asshole and a jerk, because you're just not fun to be around at the table. So you've got to be either good at it, or you've got to just look at some other aspects. So potentially look at the giant aspects, but take the good ones that are going to work with a team, not just you being an ass. And one other one that's really good for you is, although you can't stack enlargement spells, the enlargement spell does stack with your giant's might. So when you go from large, you can now go to huge if you can get enlargement cast on you. And when you go to huge, you can go to gargantuan if you have enlargement cast on you. So you want to find ways to make that. I would talk to your DM about all those items we previously listed off, as to these are things I'm going to be actively looking for, because like my PIM particles, I want to be able to chug a potion and grow or shrink, and size is going to be what my whole thing is about. Now for DMs, you're going to have to consider that this person will eventually get to gargantuan, or at least, if not quite easily, get to huge. So when you do those large rooms, that's going to freely allow them. So your ability to limit this class, as it says in there, is it needs the room to grow. So roof height is going to be a big one. When you're in and about town, Nothing's stopping them. But if you're looking at the limitations, that's where you're going to be able to limit by the size of the roof you put on, which allows them to grow. So make sure you know at 20 foot what size can you grow to, and so forth for all your rooms. Another one is have a look at those magic items and make sure you're familiar, because this is an advanced class. People are going to be playing it in different ways, and they're going to want to push the limits to see how big they can get. So make sure you're tracking all these rules about enlargement spells not stacking, except for with Giant Might. Make sure you're aware of all the items that they're going to be actively tracking down, and potions, and how many you give them and let them have. If one per game session is probably more than enough in terms of potion use, I would assume.
And always make sure that the cod piece grows with you.
Yeah, and just have a look. Like, if he puts a weapon down, grows, and picks it back up, does it still need to be two-handed? Like, figure this stuff out. If your player's doing this, you need to approach them if they haven't approached you, and figure out, like, hey, this is how this stuff's going to run. What does heavy do? What does two-handed do when they're looking at weapons, when you go large and it doesn't? And obviously, if you grow large with a heavy weapon, it's now a large heavy weapon. That's fine. But what if they pick it up after they become large? Like, there's some little things that may come up on occasions. What happens if they drop their shield and pick up a normal size shield when they go into battle? Do they still get +2 from it? Like, there'll be some things that come up from time to time that you're going to just have to make a call and talk with your guys so you establish a set of ground rules.
DM tips. If you have one of these playing, make sure you introduce the cursed cod piece of charisma. While they're wearing it, it gives them +2 to charisma checks. However, it will not grow when they grow. You gotta love it.
Right. This is something totally new. This is different. No other classes do this. This is strange. This is new. This is cool. This is something that you're probably going to have a little bit of forethought about. Because when you're playing a gargantuan bugbear with a reach weapon, you're covering up the whole battlefield. Make sure you've thought and had a look into these sort of things, because it will cause you potential problems. It's not bannable, but it is something that's worth a thought. And talking to the player, saying, like, listen, like, the dungeon's 8 foot tall generally. They don't build them huge for no reason. Like, you will find some limitations.
Yeah, DM tip is use this subclass as your BBEG.
It is really cool. And I would love to hear about all the fun. I can keep coming up with all sorts of ways I can muck around with this class. I want to be Ant-Man. I want to go diminutive and run under a door and then turn into a huge creature and then throttle someone, then go to gargantuan, and then I want to pick up a building and throw it and know what people can pick up. Have a look at those lift carry classes.
Yeah.
Like, it gets wild. Have that pre-thought ahead, and I think everyone can have some fun and just sit back and enjoy, like, what is this character doing?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me again for this, Mitch. This is such an interesting one to do. It's going to take a lot of editing. But I will look forward to catching you on the next one. And I also look forward to reading the new books and everything as they keep coming out.
Very exciting times.
Movie right ahead.